In the symbolic framework of astrology, Mars represents far more than aggression or raw energy. It is the essential principle of assertion, the active force within the psyche that initiates movement, sets boundaries, overcomes resistance, and transforms desire into action. While Venus magnetizes, Mars moves. Where Venus draws toward, Mars pushes forward. To understand Mars is to explore the mechanisms through which intention becomes motion and potential becomes actualized. Mars governs drive, motivation, courage, and physicality. It is our instinct to protect, compete, pursue, defend, and penetrate the world with our will. Without Mars, there is no motion, no edge, no flame, only inertia and latent desire. In this video, we examine Mars as a core psychological function, the internal engine of willpower, survival, action, and autonomy. This is a symbolic and developmental view, treating Mars not as a personality trait but as a fundamental human capacity to act and assert the self. Mars rules the impulse to act. It governs how we get things done, how we assert ourselves in the world, and how we pursue what we want. At its most basic level, Mars represents the transition from desire to action, the energy to initiate movement, the courage to confront resistance, the instinct to push through fear or fatigue. It is the psychological mechanism that turns I want into I do. Mars does not ask permission. It doesn't deliberate. It simply moves. Mars is not concerned with harmony, consensus, or approval. It is direct. It cuts through. It acts. This action may be constructive, building, initiating, protecting, or destructive, fighting, burning, severing. But in either case, the essence of Mars is force in motion. Mars is the function of will. Not the slow, deliberative will of Saturn, but the immediate, visceral drive to exert force, make decisions, and overcome obstacles. This includes the willingness to take risks, the ability to endure discomfort, the drive to complete a task, the refusal to back down. Willpower, in the Mars sense, is not about endurance alone. It is about alignment between desire and decision, the ability to act even when it's hard, even when it's risky, even when it costs. Mars asks the question, what are you willing to fight for? When Mars is healthy, this willpower is integrated and strategic. When Mars is unregulated, it becomes impulsive, aggressive, or destructive. Mars governs desire in motion, the impulse to go after what we want. This is not just sexual desire, though that is part of Mars's domain, but desire as a psychic force, the pull toward an object, goal, experience, or challenge. Mars is activated whenever we pursue something we want, protect something we love, fight for something we believe in. Desire is often pathologized or moralized. But astrologically, Mars teaches that desire is life force. It is vitality, appetite, and direction. Repressing desire does not eliminate it, it buries it, where it may become corrosive. Mars asks not whether we desire, but how consciously we act on those desires, and what we are willing to sacrifice to fulfill them. Mars also rules anger, not just as an emotion, but as a signal, a defense, and a clarifying force. Healthy anger sets boundaries, alerts us to injustice or violation, reclaims autonomy, fuels decisive action. Anger is not inherently destructive. It becomes harmful only when repressed or weaponized. Integrated anger is focused, purposeful, and temporary. It clarifies. It protects. Repressed Mars energy often manifests as passive aggression, chronic frustration, or internalized shame. Explosive Mars energy may manifest as violence, bullying, or domination. A balanced Mars allows anger to be felt, expressed, and moved through, without either suppression or explosion. Mars is the separating function of the psyche. It draws lines. It differentiates. It breaks free. Where the Moon bonds and Venus harmonizes, Mars divides. This is essential for defining individuality, asserting autonomy, cutting cords, saying no. Mars is the psychological sword. It helps us claim space, end what no longer serves, and exit dynamics that drain us. Separation is not always negative. It is often necessary for growth, integrity, and protection. Without Mars, we remain entangled, enmeshed, or over-accommodating. Mars says, "This is me. That is not. I choose my own path." Courage is a deeply Marsian quality, not fearlessness, but the willingness to act in spite of fear. Mars governs. Taking initiative when the outcome is uncertain. Speaking truth to power. Defending the vulnerable. Persisting under pressure. Courage is not a grand gesture. It can be quiet, steady, and internal. Every time we push through self-doubt, endure discomfort, or assert our voice, Mars is at work. Without Mars, we remain in stasis, afraid to leap, afraid to claim, afraid to lead. With Mars, we engage with life's challenges head-on. Mars asks, "What would you do if you weren't afraid?" Mars governs competition, not only in the athletic or professional sense, but in the deep evolutionary drive to test ourselves against others and against limits. Competition is not about defeating others. It is about measuring our own strength, pushing our own limits, finding our edge, improving through challenge. Healthy Mars embraces competition as a stimulus for growth. Unhealthy Mars may fixate on domination, status, or win-at-all-costs behavior. Mars in balance celebrates strength, one's own and others'. Mars out of balance becomes threatened by others' power or compulsively tries to outperform. In its highest form, Mars teaches noble competition, where the goal is excellence, not destruction. Mars is preverbal and instinctual. It lives in the body, not the intellect. It governs reflexes, reactions, and physical courage. It is active when we jump out of danger, defend ourselves without thought, react physically or energetically to a threat, feel a sudden urge to move, run, hit, or shout. These instinctual responses are ancient. Mars is the warrior, the survivor, the animal within us that knows how to fight, flee, or freeze in service of survival. To repress Mars is to cut off access to these primal intelligences, which are necessary not only for protection, but for vitality. While Venus governs romantic attraction and aesthetic pleasure, Mars rules sexual pursuit, desire, and arousal, particularly the more urgent, physical, and active dimensions of sexuality. Mars' sexuality is physical, energetic, bold, assertive. It expresses the need to claim, penetrate, or be pursued. It thrives on friction, polarity, and tension. Healthy Mars sexuality is consensual, embodied, and alive. Repressed Mars may produce guilt, numbness, or power struggles around sex. Inflated Mars may express through domination, conquest, or sexual aggression. Mars invites us to integrate sexual desire with respect, awareness, and integrity. Like all archetypes, Mars can be projected. When individuals are uncomfortable with their own aggression or desire, they may disown their Mars energy and project it outward onto others. This can look like attracting partners who express the aggression they repress, feeling victimized by assertive people, fearing conflict or ambition, resenting others for pursuing what they themselves desire. Integrating Mars means reclaiming one's own agency, fire, and direction, rather than outsourcing it to others or suppressing it into resentment. Mars has a direct relationship with physicality. It rules muscle tone, speed, heat, and endurance. The body is the instrument through which Mars acts. Physical exercise, martial arts, dance, or even manual labor can be powerful ways to express and balance Mars. Movement channels Mars energy constructively. When Mars energy is blocked, the body often absorbs the frustration, muscle tension, inflammation, restlessness, or fatigue. When Mars is flowing, the body feels alive, charged, and agile. Mars reminds us that will is not abstract. It is enacted through the living body. Mars has a clear developmental path. In early stages, Mars may be impulsive, reactive, or egocentric. It acts without foresight. As Mars matures, it becomes more refined, strategic, and conscious. This evolution involves moving from reaction to response, from impulsiveness to intention, from dominance to disciplined power, from selfish pursuit to purposeful action. The mature Mars is not less powerful, it is more precise. It knows when to act, how to act, and why. It does not act to prove itself. It acts to serve something greater. Mars is the inner fire that propels us forward. It is the principle of will, courage, action, and autonomy. It gives us the strength to stand alone, the energy to push through inertia, and the force to shape reality. Without Mars, we have no edge, no movement, no grit. With Mars, we are capable of directness, bravery, and focused desire. It is the principle that allows us to fight for what matters, not mindlessly, but with heart and precision. Mars asks us to live from the core, to act when it's hard, to defend what is vulnerable, to pursue what is real, and to burn away what holds us back. It is not enough to dream, wish, or hope. Mars reminds us, what are you willing to do?